Hello everyone. I'm so sorry for today. The planets were not in our sides, so we didn't have class today. I have problems in internet, but I was already ready for our class and inspired. So of course I was frustrated. Probably you too, but hopefully you understood. And with that, I really wish to send this to you for this week. But what we are going to do, the official class, we are just, which was supposed to happen today, we just push 1 week further. So this is just an extra taste. And what I want to do with this video I'm sending today, because these 4 classes on the series across the Silk Road, they are a little bit more complex in what we are doing. So I'm not giving a lot of time to explain, let's say, the theory and the philosophy, actually, the philosophy around sacred geometry. So I want to record here maybe something around 15-20 minutes for you, to recall that memory from your bones, because we are made of that drawing. So it's just turning that consciously. Today, so just before starting here, I read this small line here that it was written some time ago. For you to understand the importance of this study and how it came to be. So, in truth, we have long known that numbers did not always possess the dry as dust abstract quality that characterizes them today. Formerly, they were not only something good-like, but possessed, curiously enough, an all-embracing significance. They did not divide, but united two worlds. So the way we learn about numbers and shapes and geometry in school, me at least, it was kind of like, how can this number serve me in this material world? How do I add and subtract? So more or less like that, right? And shapes as well. So I never liked geometry in school. It was, as he says here, dry as dust. But we are talking the universe. How can it be dry? I mean, it's everything. So how can we fall in love again? So the study of sacred geometry is to open the eyes, open the perception, open the senses to perceive the beauty. To perceive the beauty. And how it says here, when we begin to see in this way, it becomes clear that the concept of a meaningless universe in which evolution proceeds blindly from random events to random event is a delusion. This new way of seeing is really very old. It has been called harmonics, which includes the disciplines of number, geometry, music, and cosmology, the quadrivium of the ancient mystery schools. So this is a specific study to understand the universe through its things. So by understanding how a flower grows in 5 petals, to understand how leaves grow from the branch in a spiral and Fibonacci sequence, which repeats in the skin of the snakes. You see, when we see that that shape that unites beings, you see how the world is harmonic. So this is the sense of harmony. And by understanding and studying a flower, for example, you can pretty much understand the universe. because as we seen, for example, the shape of a 5 petal flower, um, it repeats in the orbit of Venus every 8 years. So if you could look from above Venus and Earth, how they dance together, the meeting points, if you draw them together, each point that they meet every 8 years, it's a perfect 5 petal flower mandala, which is like a copy or a micro of a 5 petal flower, of a rose, of the jasmine. Jasmine is 5 petal, of the lily, and so on. So the study of sacred geometry, and we say sacred because it goes back to the source. It reminds us of our own source of creation, of creating our own life. Well, what is the purpose of being who I am? That question that we sometimes forget to do, and we simply go in the inertic force of our karma without being awake, without considering that beauty is sustaining us. And by delusion, we believe that we are not sustained. And then we try to control because we don't trust existence. And then you have an experience of a quite unpleasant life, or just a life without so much hope, maybe, or great insatisfaction, because you are not aware, you're just rolling down the mountain, kind of. So when we become aware, it's kind of, you have wings and you don't know it, so you're walking up the mountain, and then somebody tells you, hey, but you have wings, and then you open your wings, and that sublimation is easier with wings, right? So when I tell you, hey, you have eyes to understand your existence, or to accept, or to allow its beauty to be part of your life, it's the same as me showing you your wings, so you use it. So we have that kind of perception to perceive and include beauty in our lives. So studying sacred geometry is gaining back, or realizing our great capacity of including beauty and harmony in our lives that we take for granted, that we forget. Somehow problems look bigger and more important of our attention than ordinary beauty. So the study of form and studying the basic blueprint of forms, the blueprint, the very simple, like for example, the whole human body with all its complexity can be drawn in a very simple form of a 5-star, a 5-pointed star, for example. If I open my arms and legs and head, I can come to the blueprint of a 5-pointed star, for example. Yeah. So I go back to the very essence of that. So I go back and see where in existence the number 5 repeats, and what kind of energy brings that shape to exist. And then I see in my life what kind of energy is really bringing me to move, yeah? And what is lacking, for example. So I can, when I understand, I can become a more kind of a alchemist of my own life. It's kind of being smarter with this big laboratory, which is life, which is my internal lab, right? So I have that kind of perception. I have this kind of shapes. I'm able to feel this. Oh, this is bad. Oh, this is anger. Oh, this is compassion. Instead of just throwing out the window if you have a non-judgmental eyes to it, you know, whatever rises, and you can be more of an alchemist, which you grab all the ingredients that come over, because you understand that everything is part of this big mandala we live in, which is the universe, and you just include in your smaller mandala inside. So is it anger that rises? Instead of pushing to the periphery of your own mandala, you bring everything to the center and you cook. Yeah. And like the alchemists have all the steps of fermentation, adaptation, burning, and all those, you know, you start in a smart way, transforming. And I believe this is the real meaning of what the Tibetan Buddhists call Tantra. The Tantra is that person who is an alchemist of his own experiences. And everything what rises inside of him, any emotion, any experience, anything that he or she is experiencing, is it valuable, very valuable, it's gold for its path of awakening. You see? So, having that perception, there is a path, and that path can be done by the study of sacred geometry. And it's not only learning about how to draw, but by drawing it, something physical happens, that just by connecting the dots, dividing circles, just looking at a circle and just knowing how to divide in 3 and 4 and 5, 6, 12, 24, 32, just having that intelligence. When then you look to nature, something magical happens. So the practice of drawing does awake that perception. So it is part of it. It is important. Even if you think, oh, but this is really just this is just drawing, right? But something visible is happening in your unconscious, which will benefit your perception in the world. So this is the, let's say, the invisible goodness of the path of the geometer. Yeah. And so it's a path of a lot of trust and a lot of experimentation, though it pretty much looks like it's something dry. Maybe it's just lines, but it's profound, philosophical, especially when you bring it to the spirit. So I already said about us reading poetry, looking at nature, bringing the presence to sensory experiences, simple, ordinary, nothing grandiose, just bringing to the, just feeling an explosion of a cosmic star in a simple touch. You see, so it's creating that sensibility. So suddenly you understand what happens to two stars that collide when one hand touches the other. By that gesture, you understand what's happening in the universe. It can come to that level. And I already said in another class, I always like that moment that somebody did a question to the Buddha, and the Buddha just rose a flower. And that disciple cried, and he gained enlightenment right away. And I understand that that episode by the real path of the geometer and the alchemist path, which is by understanding form, you understand emptiness. By understanding emptiness, you understand form. This is a phrase of the Buddha. Form is emptiness, emptiness is form. This is what he says. So when I look at a flower, the whole universe system, the whole universe intelligence is being manifested there. You don't have to look at the galaxies. Just look at your own hand. At your own hand. And there is no word that can explain what it is. It is an experience. It is a sensory intelligence. It is an intuitive wisdom of our own nature. So if you cannot just attain by looking like Buddha's disciple, you build your path, and there is a path, and Plato and Pythagoras already were showing that, and the Arabs as well, who brought so much wisdom of the numbers, and the Vedics already said so much about the numbers in a very mystical way. And they already were saying, they already built a whole path about a whole language, very philosophical, very intuitive, very full of beauty. When you study music, when they talk about the music harmonies, you see there is a whole world explained. Unfortunately, somehow, how we are taught in basic school, everything, not only mathematics, but history, language, biology, politics, all became so dry. So our educational system in the schools today is definitely, I wouldn't say old, because the very old way of learning, like the quadrivium, was deep, was talking about from the soul to life. And now we are talking about from a product to consumers. And I'm really it's really a topic that grabs me, education today is, and I just cannot come up with an idea to. I think it's a communitary way of thinking. We all have to come up with something new, because definitely students just sitting in class and here gaining information without moving their bodies, without hearing the sounds, and without including all their senses, and only intaking, definitely is ruin their capacity to perceive the beauty in the world. Some schools very slowly are trying to include that, but still it's definitely, we don't wake up our full potency in basic school. So this is my talk here is reminder of the essence of the study of sacred geometry. It's a much deeper, profound path, the whole path, not only a study or understanding. It's a life, it's a way of life. It's not about only drawing. The drawing is the yoga, yeah, and what you gain from yoga is a whole development of perception of your own body, of your own mind, and your conduct and your behavior and life with yourself and with the others, so you can benefit and live a life of awakened consciousness. This is the purpose of sacred geometry, and independent of your religion, you being Christian, Buddhist, Hindu, Islam, this is a way of seeing life and living life in favor of harmony, yeah, of awakening, of just living life in a conscious, more conscious, eye-opening. So I see you next week, and for our practice, our drawing yoga. Let the fire burn in your heart and light the path you chose to walk. So have a wonderful week.